Hi, I'm Tim. If you are interested in the philosophy of existence, then you chose the right video. Later, I will introduce two main theories of existence, which are materialism and idealism. In the end, I will introduce my thinking of existence. Let's talk about materialism first. The main idea of materialism is only substance and energy exist, and they are also the essence of the universe. Other things like emotion and feelings all rely on substance and energy, but some scholars of materialism more focus on substance. Additionally, the interaction of materials inside our brain is the reason why we have consciousness. So consciousness also relies on materials. There are many types of materialism, and I chose three of them as examples. The first one is called mechanical materialism. It mainly states that substance is the only thing exists in this universe. So it mainly uses mechanics to interpret how this universe works. The second one is called physicalistic materialism. Its definition is wider than the last one. Not just substance and mechanics, other things in the content of physics are also included in the list of existence. The third one is the interpretation of mind. Imagery materialism also states that mind depends on substance, but substance doesn't have consciousness, so consciousness is irreducible to substance. There are three scholars of materialism I want to introduce to you. The first one is Leucippus, whose photo is at lower left. He is the earliest materialist in Europe, and he was also a Greek philosopher. He wrote the book Atomism. It mainly stated that everything is composed by atoms, otherwise it's void. Void means vacuum. The second one is Karl Marx, the famous founder of communism, whose photo is at lower right. He created historical materialism, the central idea of communism. He used the way of materialism to analyze the history. In historic materialism, there are two things decide the pattern of history. One is the relations of production. For example, like capitalists and laborers are relations of production. The second one is productivity. And when these two develop, human being society will change from primitive society to communist society eventually. Besides, historic materialism also states that class conflict is the main reason why histories move forward. The third scholar who supported materialism is Hobbes, the famous scholar of politics, whose picture is on the top. He wrote the book Leviathan. This book is mainly talking about his idea of human society, but he also mentioned that he was a mechanistic materialism, the same as the first type of materialism in this video. And Locke also supported mechanistic materialism. The second part, idealism. The idea of idealism is opposite to materialism. Idealists think only consciousness and feeling exist. So this idea usually states that consciousness creates the reality we feel. But this consciousness won't need to be human consciousness. Sometimes it can be objective. There are two main types of idealism. The first one is subjective idealism. The second one is objective idealism. Subjective idealism states that people's subjective consciousness is the only thing exists. So how people feel things is how things exist. And it also states that people's consciousness creates this universe. Objective idealism mainly says that there is an objective consciousness or spirit, like God or the dominator of the universe. And this objective consciousness is why this universe exists. There are also some scholars who supported idealism, like Kant. He created transcendental idealism. We cannot feel the essence of everything because we feel things due to the way how human beings feel things. So anything can't exist independently, including time and space. Another scholar is Hegel. Absolute spirit is the central idea of Hegel philosophy. It means the existence makes this universe work. For example, like some formula of physics or chemicals, or some kind of absolute spirit. The last one is Berkeley. He was a subjective idealism. He thought everything exists because people felt it. If one thing didn't being felt, and it doesn't exist, so this reality is in our mind. Objective reality doesn't exist. Finally, it's my thinking of existence. If you are willing to listen to my idea of existence, I will be grateful. My idea is consciousness totally relies on physics, but physics, like substance and energy, also relies on time and space. Here's the physicalistic materialism part. But additional thing is logic. It can be interpreted as the principle of how this universe works, just like absolute spirit of Hegel. I think the relation between idealism and the materialism part is interdependent. First of all, mind relies on physics, like most people think, but some people may ask, how about soul? People may have soul. But let me ask, what composes soul? Material, energy, or neither material or energy? But I think soul will never be composed by nothingness. Nothingness here means an area only exists space. No substance, no energy, no anything else, just space. So now here is a space with nothingness. If nothingness can compose its soul, and then this area is the soul, right? We divided this area into 4 spaces. Each of these spaces is a soul. So here comes the contradiction. This area has 1 soul or 4 souls. Maybe soul doesn't look like a square. But if we take any other shape as example, we will find the same contradiction. Some people may argue that soul doesn't need any space. But I think different person has different soul. If soul were not need any space, it would mean soul equals to dots, and all the dots in this world are the same apart from their location. So every soul is totally the same apart from their location, and that doesn't make sense. That's why I think soul must be composed by something. If that is true, it must be regulated by physics and logic. Besides, there are time and space, so this universe has substance and energy. That's why physics totally relies on space and time. Nevertheless, according to transcendental idealism from Kant, time, space, and logic are created due to the way human feel things. Therefore, to be honest, I think I still need to prove time, space, and logic exist objectively. On the other hand, I also think there are interdependence between reality and logic. For example, there are atom and quantum mechanics. If atom doesn't exist in this universe, then the logic of quantum mechanics can't be established. But if quantum mechanics is totally wrong, then substance cannot be exist in the form of atom. The atom won't exist. Here is another example. There is a triangle, and the sum of degrees of 3 angles always equals to 180. If triangle were not existed, then the logic of triangle couldn't be exist too. But if the sum of the degrees of a triangle weren't equals to 180, then this triangle will change. But this is not a triangle, and that is not a triangle too. So triangle won't be exist. That's why I think logic and material world are interdependent, but logic can also be divided into details. In the end, I want to say, even though mind is totally depends on physics, but mind is the most important part of this world. It gives this universe meaning. If there are no consciousness in a universe, then whatever this universe change is meaningless, because the utility is always 0. Maybe that meaning is different to everyone, but it still has meaning. So that is my introduction of existence. Thank you for listening.